Hello everyone! Happy Monday! I hope you had a good weekend. It's time to paint. Exciting, exciting. We're gonna paint a little dog. So cool. I'm happy. I love painting dogs. I have one going right now. I have a few that I have to do. I have to draw two more Samoyed and then a little, what's it called? I'll think of it. A little one that's got the little hair coming out the ears. Not a Jack Russell, but I'll think of it. Anyway, I've got two of those I have to paint. Hello, Karen. You're there. Hi, Mita. How are you? I hope things are going good there where you are. It's super sunny here. Super excited. Hi, Emily. Yay, you got in live. Woohoo! Yay! Yeah. So, everybody say hi. I know I'm a couple minutes early, so I'll just wait for you guys to come along. I've got some quilts in the background. Do you see them? They're for 4th of July. So that's a red, white, and blue. And then there's another red, white, and blue over there. And there's another one. Here, I'll pull it up. Can you see this one? Another red, white, and blue. Remember I said my mom makes quilts? My mom makes quilts, so they're all over the house. It's wonderful to see you
everybody.
too. No, it's not a Yorkie. It's one of those, what was the kind of dog that Jasmine and Casey had?
Schnauzer.
Yeah, a schnauzer, one of those schnauzers. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Becky. Yeah, I'm excited to do the dog. We're going to talk a little bit about him before we get started. But I also wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about some papers, some different kinds of papers. But first, we're going to sing. Hi, Lisa. Sunny morning in Burnaby, Canada. Finished your eyes yesterday. The eyes you guys have are so good. You guys have done so well. Hi, Anita and Karen and Yvonne and Terry. Did you guys ever see Romper Room? It was so cute. The lady that did the Romper Room is for toddlers. She'd go, "Hi, I see you, Becky. I see you, Terry," and she'd just make up names. And that's kind of how I feel when I'm saying hi to you. But I know you're there because I see your names and they're coming up. That's if you say hi. No, not all of you say hi. Hi, Monica. They say hi to you too, Tom.
Hi.
Are you on?
I am.
Okay, Tom's on there. Okay, so here's your song. You guys have heard this one before. I couldn't find a good dog one, so here we go. It's an old song. Let me call you artist, I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love you too. Keep the water flowing in your red, yellow, and blue. Let me call you artist, I'm in love with you. Let me call you artist and hear you say it too. Let me hear you shout it out. I'm an artist too. Keep your paintbrush moving in your yellow, red, and blue. Let me call you artist, 'cause you are one too. Hi, Ginger. A very loud thunderstorm is hitting here in Wisconsin. Hopefully I don't lose you. Well, it'll be recorded, so if you do. And you know, the reason why I like to sing that song to you guys is because I had the most difficult time saying that I was an artist. It feels like once you say that there's a lot of, hi Ramona, I feel like it's front row seat for Sally. I feel like whenever I decided that I was an artist, that it made me feel like I thought I could do anything or everything, or that I should do everything like artists do. And that's not necessarily true. You can be an artist and still have things that don't turn out perfectly. We all know that. So just know that you're an artist. As you're painting, you're an artist. So let me quickly go over a couple things before we get into painting this great dog named Maia. This is a portrait class, but it's not what I think of, like how other people think of portraits, just like this straight sitting, kind of a thing. It's not that. So like I've shown you this before, and this is where I'm going to show you a couple kinds of paper. I've shown you this. This is a block of paper, and it's glued right here so that all the papers that are on here, you don't have to stretch them. And I don't stretch anyway, but a lot of people do. So here's that portrait I did. This is a portrait. It's a self-portrait. So even though, sorry, it's behind my mic, but I can I think it's the best way to see it is right there. So I wanted to show you this because it's dogs, and this is a self-portrait because this is my life, and it's not totally realistic. Look I made my hair blue, and I tend to like to do that with black things. I like to make them blue. This is dog Diesel. This is Fiona. This is the big Clumber. This is my old pug. He's 15. This is Cooper, and then that's Camo. And most of you probably are familiar with Norman Rockwell. So this was a nod to Norman Rockwell's style. Do you see that red book right here? It's backwards, so it's hard for me to get. That is a book, and it says Norman Rockwell. So clearly I am pointing out that I'm painting like Norman Rockwell, or trying to. And then I painted him painting his self-portrait right there too. So that was a really fun portrait. And my point of showing you this is when you make decisions on painting, that's exactly what you have to do, is make a decision. What do you want to paint? Hi, Terry. So in my self-portrait, I didn't want to just have me like this, right? I could have, but I wanted it to be more interesting. So I added the dogs. At the time, can you see this? I'm going to put it under here. I'm going to click over for you too, so hold on. Just give me a second here. I think this is a good little bit of a lesson. Let me click over here. So, see this right here? This is an egg dish, and I was using those for palettes. That's a porcelain egg dish, and I thought that was so cool when I saw someone do that. And so I did it. You know, it's a lot about copying and following along and going, hey, that seems like a fun idea. So about this block, you don't have to stretch it. It's glued along the edge. And when you want to take out your paper, there's this back side that has an opening, and you put your palette knife in there and you slide it all the way around the glue. Okay, so there's that for you. That's an Arches paper block. And to show you the difference, in case some of you don't know, this is a smaller one, but it's just an Arches pad of paper. So you just go right in and tear those out, okay? So that's something I wanted to talk to you about, and then that's all about it. Oh, I'll show you the other blue dog. I like to do black dogs with blue. Here's a little portrait I'm doing right now. Isn't it cute? A little Chihuahua. Pomeranian. So his name is Chim. So I'm getting close to finishing that one. I've been putting it aside for a while. All right. Oh, one more thing. Some of you wanted to know about the porcelain little palettes I use, and I've told a lot of you in the other class. We got these on Amazon, and the price jacked up after we started doing it, so we changed the market. Can you believe that? So they started out at $8. This is the one that a lot of us have now. It's called Delalo, and I like it especially for what we're doing now. I like it because they're easy to move and put in the view of the camera for you. As you know, I can go just like this and show you what I'm doing, as opposed to like a big palette that a lot of us use, where it has bigger mixing, which is great for bigger mixing, but for what I'm doing, it's not really perfect. Okay, so let's go on. Okay. We're gonna paint a dog, and what I wanna talk to you guys about is making you guys think here. How would you approach, got a hair in my mouth, how would you approach making a decision on how to paint this dog? Because I want to get you guys to think. It's not just about following along and painting what I'm painting. It's about you thinking. So I'm going to just let you think for a second. How would you approach, so we're going to paint a colored dog. We're not going to do a black and white or a monochromatic and gray. Our monochromatic portrait that we're going to do with Sam Elliott it could be a gray or just another color. It's up to us what we do. I'm going to pull this further. So I'm looking at this, and I want you guys to think, what choices would I make to paint this dog? All right. So I'm going to just butt in now. I just wanted you to think for a second, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I'm looking at the eyes. This is the photograph we're going to use, and one of the reasons we're going to do it is because I was asked to paint this. So I thought we'll kill two birds with one stone. I'm looking at the eyes. They're really black. Now, I kind of don't want to paint them that black. I want them to have a little more life in them, and I know that we talk about painting what you see, but in this case, I want to add a little more life to them. So I looked online and found this portrait of a dog, this photograph of a dog. Okay, come on, I want to move you over here. Hold on. Okay, I want to make this a little bigger. So we're not going to do eyes this color, but I'm going to keep this in mind when we start painting it. See the eyes, how they're a lot browner? There's a lot of brown in there, golden in there. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's one of my decisions as I'm looking at this dog. I want to put more life in that dog. I don't have to look at those the whole time because I know they're kind of golden. I've seen them before. Okay, this is a black and white of the same dog, and I'll put that up on the screen. We'll keep it up there. And this is the same dog. This is just to show you the colors of this dog. I have multiple pictures. Her nose gets a little bit pinker as she gets older. So I want to keep that in mind because some of you are going to get asked to paint dog paintings. This is her again. Her eyes are really dark, but I still want to put some more life in them. So I'm just showing you when I go through and make decisions, this is what I'm doing. All right. Let's see what other photo I have. Okay, that's the one. That's a different one. Same idea, same time frame. You can see that. And then this is the colored one. So her color it's this photograph that I have does not have a lot of color in it. So what I want to do, I see blues in here, a lot of blues. So I would make this, I'm thinking to myself, okay, what blue could I use in a pale wash? I would probably do some manganese blue. I see a lot of purples in her ear. I would probably do some purples there. The shadows are where you can get a lot of interest, and a lot of people just do gray. You can get a lot of fun interest in the shadows. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Her nose is a brownish pink nose, so I want to do that. And let's just get started, okay? I have two kinds of paper. This is cold press, and I'm going to be working on cold press. I'm going to turn this light off. I had it on because it was pretty dark, but I don't want to leave it on when we paint. And then this is the hot pressed paper. I like hot pressed paper, but I'm going to use cold press today. All right, I've drawn it twice. So I'm going to zoom in, get it in focus, and I want to start with the eyes because we've been doing eyes and we're really warmed up with eyes. So let's do the eyes. Get your brushes wet, start your engines, and here we go. Oh wait, before we do, let me see if you have any questions. Yay. Okay, you guys, let's do it. So since I said I wanted to have the eyes a little bit more interesting, a little more color, let me get the big photo here. And like I usually do, I'll fold this up so you can see what I'm looking at and what I'm thinking about doing. Fold it up more because I want to get in close. That's what's great about these photocopies. Okay, there are her eyes. All right, as I'm looking, I see, like we talked about and we saw in the dog eye before, there's different color variety here. I see white here. I'm going to paint around the white. I see darker here. And I will start with, I want these to be warm, so I'm going to start with an Indian yellow, which is my warmer yellow here. Oh, man. All right, so I'll get a little bit of, here, I'm going to pull this over. And I usually want to start with a tea consistency. I won't wet the eyes this time because I want to paint around the white and paying close attention to it. Okay, so even though that looks kind of like a bluish color, I'm going to avoid that.
Everything looks good.
Everything looks good. Tom's not going to fall asleep today, he said. I told him I was going to fire him if he did. No. So where this blue is, I think I'm going to make it the lighter, kind of the amber color. And I'm not going to make it too much. Now you guys will probably be able to sell this painting. I see white coming up, see, not white, but light coming up around here. So I want to keep that. I'm going to bring it on around. 2 white spots here. We'll keep some reflection whites. It doesn't have to be exact because these eyes are pretty dark. I think I'll leave one there or there. We can go all the way to the edge, pretty much. Pretty days here. We had a really windy day yesterday, but it's been sunny. So look at your photo reference more than the drawing because it looks like the drawing is a little bit confusing, but you don't really need that. That's the eyes in the right place. We can just follow along. So look, I copied this drawing, and this drawing is way better on the cold pressed. I see more, way better. So I'm gonna have to keep peeking at that cold pressed drawing that I did too. So I apologize if yours turned out. I hope yours turned out better than that. I hope I copied the first drawing I did and not the second. Okay, let's move over to the other eye. Again, follow along and the photo reference as much as you can. Here's 2 white areas that are showing. Remember, all our drawings are just the roadmap. It's more important to follow the photograph that you have. A lot of people don't even paint with photographs. They just paint live. And boy, that's hard. I'll tell you what, because people move. Can you imagine the artists from the old days? They didn't have any, they had to keep their subjects still. Whoa, that would have been so hard. But I don't like my paintings to look like photographs. Number one, I think we already have the photograph. If someone asks me to paint something and they have a great photograph and it looks just wonderful as a photograph, I'm like, I just flat say no, because I'm like, no, I can't improve that. And I think you already have something great. All right. So we got the initial wash down of the eye. Let's go ahead and go now with one of my favorite mixes, as you know, burnt sienna. Can you see where I'm going? No. Burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, which on my palette here's how I have mine set up. This is phthalo. This is an indanthrine, or really, really dark blue, ultramarine, cobalt, and then I have manganese, and then my cobalt teal. That's just how I've got mine set up. So I'm going into my ultramarine, mixing it in there. Get that dark black thick. Remember, it's got to be thick. We're going into the creamy, buttery, not buttery, but creamy, thick in order to get it thick and dark. Okay, so I'm finding...
Anderson says she posed for a plein air group one time in my regalia. It was incredibly difficult.
To just sit still for so long. Yeah, I've heard that. And I'm not touching into the yellow we just did. I'm avoiding it because well, you know what we did with the cat, but this time I'm going to avoid it a little better, which turned out to be a great lesson. Don't you guys think? That cat eye turned out really good. I mean, it would have, well, listen to me. It would have anyway, but it would have been fine anyway. But it was interesting how we could avoid, make that become something. I'm following the shape of the eye. It's really dark. So I'm coming across the top of the eye right here. It's not going to matter too much if it falls into it. So I'm just going to come close to it. It looks like it's dried already. That's one of the reasons why it's good to wet the paper first, because you can work longer in your area if you want to. We're doing wet right into dry right now. This is a faster way to work, wet into dry, but it doesn't give you the watercolor properties that are so cool. Like I said, I just call this drawing with the paintbrush. This dog looks pretty close to white, but we're going to get some more interesting colors in his shadows. So you see I'm skipping around because on here we've got some spaces in between. So I'm just sort of skipping around. So we get his fur color or her fur color to show behind. And coming on down. Get right next to the eye now. Up here's where this color sort of skips around too. I got my snoring dogs. I tried to find a dog song to do with you, but I couldn't. It just didn't happen. Okay, so now this is thick paint, right? We know it's thick paint, and I'll show you what we're going to do with this. It's still wet. It's thick enough that it's not going to dry very fast. So right here, I'm going to get rinse out the brush. Get your brush to clear. Have a towel ready. I don't say that because I know you guys know how to do that. Get the moisture out of your brush. Come down here near the eye, away from the eye with just the water, clear water. We're coming away from the eye. Don't touch into black yet, or the dark color yet. We're coming away from the eye. So you see we've got water here, just the water. And go further than what you think. So this comes, see this shadow here? It comes to a shadow. We're coming down here. So we have water waiting, right? Now, this is going to be a tricky part. You're just going to go up here and touch a little bit, one little area. And then it's going to come down. Do you see what's happening? Don't touch everywhere. Do you see what's happening? So look at the eye. It's coming down into it. And let's do it again over here because there's a more shadow here. Just touch it in places. And don't do them evenly either like I did. And over here, just a little bit. Your brush is probably not clear anymore like mine isn't. And we'll just let that kind of come down into this area and become more shadow. Okay, if you have manganese blue or any kind of a light, make your blue light. So I'm going to go into manganese right now, manganese blue hue. Get into the tea consistency. And let's make a shadow right here. Can you see right there? Let's do it. We're going to touch it right into that water we just put in there. We're going to fix this area too because it looks weird right now. We can't fix it now. If we do it now, all of it will come down. We don't want all of it to come down. We just want part of it to come down. Got it? Make sense? I'm getting my brush wet again. Clear water. I'm going to come on the outside of this even further. I don't want that to be a hard edge, so come outside further. Again, just sort of touch up there into it. Parts of it can stay. We're just coming on down. Okay, this looks a little bit weird, so let's go up here and try to ease some of these lines out right here. I'm coming on top of them and just sort of pushing it out there a little bit. See if it can happen. Those are wet, and if I come up on top, above them, it pulls it out a little bit. Just looking at my values of this dog. So this is how, when I was saying how would I approach it, this is exactly what I was talking about. So these are my thoughts. I'm like, okay, if I go here, I go here. I usually start with the eye because if the eye doesn't turn out, then the rest of the painting doesn't either. So I always start with the hardest part, in my opinion. Eyes aren't that hard for me anymore, but they used to be the hardest part. So now I'm going to just keep wetting the brush or the paper to go out further. And this is basically our first layer of the shadow part of her eye, of the side of her eye. See, it's going to go a lot darker. Look, that shadow here, this shape that goes here, it's going to go a lot darker. Okay, let me fold her back up. I think I'll fold her, well, no, I'll just keep her that way for now. All right, so this kind of needs to have a little bit of a pale blue up in the top too, because that's the same similar color, so I'm going to put some up there so that merges into this part as well. It gets difficult to paint like this where we're doing a little more loose and flowy kind of things. This should be dry, so what I want to do is just paint right over the top of it and let it soften those lines. I can't do that here yet because it's still really wet. Like I said, I wanted to have a little bit of variety here, but I could probably pull this down a little bit if I don't like it. And I'm not sure if I do or not because that's a little bit of a big color change there. It's like, I mean, that was a big dot of color there, so I was thinking maybe I should pull it down a little bit.
All good on the comment section.
Okay, they're thinking. They're thinking. So the reason I wanted to do this dog in a portrait class is because right now we're painting hair. Do you see? All we're looking at is, we're looking at the value of it. We're looking at the shape of it. We're not painting little individual hairs. Like right here I did, but that's just the value of it. When you see a big, like, okay, this dog here, for example, look at all the things I did. They're just big shapes of different colors. So let me click it back again to over on the big screen here with me. But when you see it like this, you see it's just, we know that's dog hair. Up here there's a little bit of different textures things, but for the most part it's one big shape. So this is why I wanted you to do this. So when we go into hair on humans, we don't think about individual hairs because it's difficult for us not to. So I thought we could do a dog first just to see if we can get that. Okay, so there's not a lot of value changes in this dog, so I knew it'd be a challenge for that as well. But we're gonna manage it. I'm gonna go with a little more blue. I wanna hit a little more blue here. Okay, a little more blue. So here I go. It's wet still. So I'm in my manganese blue, coming on down, and I'll go up as well. And I'm gonna take a peek up here in what you guys are seeing. I see it kind of comes around here. It gets darker right here on the dog. See that shadow part here? It gets darker here. We'll get that next. Well, not next, but we'll get that later. All right, so let's go back into the eyeball if we can avoid hitting those areas, which I think we can. So let's hit some, what are we gonna do? It's dark, but I want it to have some life in it. I think we should do some burnt sienna mixed with Indian yellow. They're sort of in the same color family. They're both orangey, right? Okay, but this time I want to wet the eye over the yellow we've already done. Avoid the whites, but let's wet the eye. The black that we already put out there, that dark brown that's out there, we probably can touch it. But look at your eye, make sure any place there is some white, because sometimes there's white. See this white around here? There's a little bit of light, I mean. We're gonna avoid that. So you need to look at your photo reference like I am, and I'll talk to you while I'm doing it. So along that outside edge, I'm just gonna kind of avoid it a little bit. I can always cover it up, and I probably will. Finding the whites, going right next to the black we already put down. Let's see if we can get this eye a little bit lighter. Again, these are just choices you're going to make as you go out and look at your own paintings, because all artists have to do that. How am I going to paint this? What is the best way that I think I can do? What textures? How am I going to make the textures? You guys know there's ways to make textures using different household materials. We can do that sometime if you guys want to, just do a whole lesson on that. You know, people use salt. I guess that's kind of overused now, but you can use plastic wrap. You can use oatmeal.
Oh, I got a request for some jokes.
A request for jokes. Okay, so I just used a different brush to get that wet. I have my mixture of the burnt sienna and Indian yellow. So remember, I'm going from light to dark. We went dark here, but we're going from light to dark in the eye, but I just went straight into the dark on the outside part of it. So here I'm going to touch it in. It should be, yeah, it's wet enough for it to drag it around. It's going to pull my paint around. So I'm just dropping it in, trying to find a lighter eye. We're going to have to make this eye a lot darker, but I want to have that choice. So building up lots of layers. Now I was talking to Jo about the eyes, and she was layering lots of layers in her eyes, and we talked about it. It's okay to put lots of layers on things, but just know that with each layer, you're going to dull out the one before. Unless you stay in the same color family, you'll lose a lot of the lights. And I just want to have some little bit of lights showing through this eye, because a lot of the Labradors have these golden eyes. Okay, so you know how we go on this. You guys have already done this with me. Let's go to the other eye now. So we'll use the same mixture. First, we'll wet the eye with clear water. Paying attention to where those lights are again. I see a light up here, right up here around the outside rim. Do you see, oops, do you see this right here? There's a light right there. You see that lightest part right there? So we're gonna make sure we save that. And then there's the bright whites here. I see 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 of those. Wait, before we do that, I wanna go over here really fast and touch, because now that it's wet, it should activate the paint underneath around the eye, because I don't like that looking just so cut out. Wherever there's the greatest contrast, whether it's light, dark, smooth, rough, opposites on the color wheel, those areas are where your eye is going to go. And that's a good tool to use. If you want the attention to go to a certain place, then make a contrast there. Okay, back into some clear water. Oh wait, yeah, let's do black into clear water. Avoiding the places where you need to keep your whites here, or your lighter lights. The lighter lights. So my dad, he moved back to his house. Their house is getting rebuilt. He didn't take care of his house, and the county actually condemned it. And so they tore it down. And so while it was being torn down, he came and stayed here for a little bit. And now he's back home. He's 88, and he's trying to build a garden in the place where they tore it down. So it's kind of interesting. So I have to go pick him up today. He wants to go to a garden shop. So I'm back into the mixture we made with the burnt sienna and the Indian yellow. I'm going to drop some down here into this area of the dog. Do you see where that's kind of happening right there, that golden color? It's also up here, which it already kind of went up on its own, and I'm happy for that. So I'll add a little more to that. Now this yellow, and this will kind of become a green color. All right, so let me look here. I see I'm getting a hard edge here. So right now, while it's still wet, take my brush and just go right over it. Yours may be doing that too. If you do it while it's still wet and use a tissue afterwards, you can usually get rid of that. And I see it happening up here too. So just keep an eye on every place you've painted. So I'm using the flat part of my brush. I could also go in with my scrubby brush that I've told you guys about, this little guy here, which are hard to find now. I'm sorry to say. This little guy here, this Nova Synthetic. But try to find one. If you can't find that one, try to find another one. And I'll show it to you right now. So see this hard edge that's forming right here? So I'm just using the flat side of the brush. Get the brush wet, dry it off. So just getting rid of some of the hard edges here. And your Arches cold pressed paper is really good for being able to do that. That's why people use it. It has a lot of forgiving qualities. So I know that's soaking in. That eye is soaking in the water. But we're probably going to get darker anyway, so it's not really critical. See, it gets quite a bit darker here anyway. Okay, excuse me. So my eye shape is looking a little bit wonky. It needs to be darker in here, but we have to let that sit. We're not going to mess with that. We'll just let it sit. And as you know, there's that time frame in a painting where you want to fix it right now because you're like, this is going to drive me crazy. Leave it alone. You can go fix it later. Leave it alone. Okay, we're going to go over to the other eye. We'll go into our same mix that we did. Uh-oh, what's happening? Is the page gone? Can you still see?
I can still see.
Okay.
But there's a lag too,
All right. I had a little issue on my end. I don't know if it's going to happen. Tom's watching to let me know. So I'm going back into my burnt sienna and Indian yellow mix. See up here, look on mine, Tom, it says this page isn't available right now. Weird, huh? Okay, so we're going to add this in and avoid our whites. Building up a golden eye.
The golden eye.
The golden eye. The golden eye. There we are. And let that sit. Okay, let's go around this eye as well. Drying off my brush. Burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, our black. The black, the black, the black. We're going to try to avoid that eye again. Okay, let's look at our shapes. I'm going to scoot this down. Nope, I have to scoot it up. Looking at my shape, we've got some of these dot things going around here, dark around there, avoiding the eye. Following your drawing, but looking at your photograph. You guys are doing so good. What fun we're having. I know that Sam Elliott is going to be fun. I'm still deciding what to do with his background. I can't decide. I don't even know what color I want to paint him. Even though I said it's monochromatic, I still want to, I don't know if I want to just do like stay in the browns. He's a cowboy. It's in a cowboy hat. And I'm like, do I want to stay like that? So I'm kind of blending or making the edges a little bit rough because that's how the edges are in the dog.
Lynn Anderson said, Wet n Wild makeup brushes at Dollar Tree are perfect scrubby brushes.
Oh, did you guys read that? Dollar Tree, Lynn Anderson says at Dollar Tree there's Wet n Wild makeup brushes that work great. And they're $1. I guess if they're at the Dollar Tree, they're $1.
She said check eyeshadow brushes in particular.
Okay, so Tom, being the guy that he is, he thinks he's so funny. He likes to go into those dollar stores, go up there and say, hey, how much is this? I'm sure he's like, he thinks he's so funny, but I wonder how many times they hear that from people like Tom.
Lots.
Okay, so you guys see all you're doing is the same thing I'm doing, following the shapes. This is super dark. Mine's starting to look a little too brown, so if it does, I want to put a little more blue in it, and my ultramarine blue, and it'll darken it up. Because they're essentially orange and blue, which are opposites on the color wheel. But it's kind of a pre-mixed orange, for you. I'm still avoiding that inside of that eye. Coming here, so some areas that just have speckles of, see how much darker that got? I don't know if it's showing on the camera, but it's a lot darker where I added the blue. It's good to have different colors within the paint you're painting. Like as you're painting along, it's nice to jump in there and pull another color from your palette. It makes it more interesting. And remember, we're painting something for the interest, right? Paint for yourself and enjoy it. And if somebody else likes it, hey, yay, right? But if, it's all about you and what you like to do. So now I'm getting into that eye. I got a little too close, but it doesn't really matter because this eye is going to be dark anyway. And I'm going to be doing that over here. I still have the paint on my brush. I'm going to come back right here. I'm going to fix this. Remember I said I want to fix it? Okay, so we're going to fix this eye right now. It's still pretty wet. We're going to fix this shape. So here's where I want to keep that white that's coming around. So I'll come inside the eye. I just want to have a little bit of a glow in there. I don't want to have this super, because we saw in her photo, all the photo shots we saw, her eye was really dark. But if we would have come in straight with dark, this will be a good lesson. See how dark it is right there? It's not going to be that dark. It's going to be dark, but it's not going to be as dark as that. It'll have some more life in it because we started with the color underneath. Back into it. I think I'll put more blue this time here.
All quiet.
All Quiet on the Western Front. I've heard of that movie, but I don't remember ever seeing it. Probably because it's a war movie, huh? I don't like those kind of movies. I only like Disney movies. I want things to be happy, 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 and end happy. So do you see how that's shining through? There's a lighter, this is darker, but that first undercoat that we put on there is shining through. As long as we don't paint super dark over it, as long as it's not, this is sort of a coffee consistency. It's not tea consistency, it's heavier than that. And now I'm following the shapes. There's that lighter area right here. Looks like a tree, kind of a triangle tree thing. And we've got the whites right in the center, those little whites right in the middle. Oops, it's a little bit lower. I can cover this one. I think it's more right there, so I'll cover that one. Come down to the side of it. I can probably get rid of that one. And come down into here. There's a lighter one at the very, very bottom. Come around. And I see this whole area because that'll make it look round there. All right. Looking at the time, I'm not going to keep you guys as long today. Last week I wanted to finish those eyes in one go. And they're big, so they took a little bit of effort. So this is coming down a little further. I'm going slow because those other ones were more of a practice, and this is going to be more of a whole painting. So I wanted to go slow with the eye. This we sort of lost a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of dark in there again. But it's nice to have variety of color there anyway, variety of value. So not everywhere, so it's good that it kind of went away. Oh, I just love it when it does things like that. Okay. I'm taking a look back, leaning back and looking at the screen.
Lynn Anderson says, LaVon, I have a hard time getting a rich black,
Oh.
ultramarine blue, and burnt sienna.
You do?
I'm using Carabazzoli purple
Yeah.
and burnt sienna. Any reason not to use this blend?
No, perfect. Anything that gets dark, anything that looks dark, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's go back around this other eye like we did the first one. And touch around the outside of it like we did the first one. It should pull out a little bit. Yeah, there it is. So again, with water around the outside, following the shadow of this dog's eyes here. That's a shadow. Come on down here. We'll touch that thick paint. So when you touch thick paint like that, you can see right here, it's going to pull it out. When it's thin and almost dry, it won't. But when it's thick, there's enough pigment sitting on the surface that it pulls it out. It'll follow the water. No, I mean, that's a great mix. The thing is, when you mix the whatever colors you mix, you kind of want to use those in your painting. So whatever blacks you're using, try to incorporate those in your painting somewhere else, because even though they look black, there's still that, you can still see a little bit of that color in them. And that's one of the reasons you want to mix it, so they're not like a dead black. I don't know if that makes sense. Like a black from the tube has a lot of dullness to it because it's all mixed together. If you let it mix on your palette or your paper, it's even better. I mean, if you mix it on your paper, it's even better. It looks really cool. Okay, so I see how that's coming. It's going to be good. All right, it always looks weird, huh, when you have this one kind of going, woo, like a Terminator eye. All right, so let's move on. Let's leave those to sit for a second. Actually, let's go ahead and put our blue up here, the blue shadow. I did super pale, manganese blue. You pick a blue that's a nice tea consistency and it'll be fine. Ooh, look, I see a good purple right here. You see that purple right there? Let's put some of that in there right now. Right now. I think I'm going to use, it's going to be tea consistency though. I think that's a cobalt violet. But it doesn't matter. I know you guys have asked what palette colors I use, and I don't really stray far from what I already have. So if it's a purple, I'll just grab a purple. Doesn't that look cool? Adding some color in there. I love it. 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 So let's do the same up here on top. We already have the blue, but let's do purple right up here too. See that purpley? This is more blue. See that side? Can you tell that? That looks more blue, and this looks more purpley blue. So it's super pale. We can always make it darker. We got water mixing around there. Yay! See, color just makes me happy. Yay, 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 yay. So I will fix this. I'm just leaving that for now because I don't want it to blend. If I start messing with it while it's wet, it's going to go too far. I can blend it more when it's not that wet. All right, so now I think we should jump to the ear. Shall we do the ear? We'll stay up to the top. That way I don't have to move it around too much. Okay, ear shape. What does it look like?
What are you trying to fix?
Then we're going to do the ear right here. Okay, you can totally see that this looks blue. Let's do it blue. Let's do it the light manganese blue. Go straight in without wetting that ear. We'll follow the shape of the ear. Start with tea consistency paint and follow the shape of the ear. Right up here. Little loopy-doopy here. Looks like it's got purple in it too, so we should drop some purple in it after we get it wet. Flatten out your brush, don't use just the tip. Get that brush working for you. And it gets whiter right there. See that area right there? It just goes straight to white, so it's almost straight up. Almost vertical, so I better make it vertical too. There's that dark line right there. It's the same dark line as that, but it comes to blue over there, so straight up. It's a little bit lighter around the edge. See the little bit of light that's coming there that's a light from the outside, so I'll just go with water right there. Ta-da! Okay. Purple. Let's do our cobalt, whatever purple you used over here. I'm using cobalt violet, I think. And if you look at the ear, see how dark it is on this side and it gets lighter, so it's rounding. So we'll just put the purple down here at the bottom. Just tapping it in there. Oh yeah, look at it. It's so cool. Makes my feet squirm. Okay, we're gonna leave that. It is gonna need to go darker. We can see that. Okay, I'm looking at my eyes. This is probably at the right stage now that I could take a wet brush and, you guys wait just in case. Well, you'll have to judge your own anyway. So I'm gonna touch the sides right now, depending on your climate. It's always tricky. So I got rid of that part. It's still a little too wet though, so I'm gonna get a little blossom, so I think I'll wait. Like I said, okay, but I'm gonna look over here at this one. Do you see how this hard edge is forming? Let's get that out of there. So just a wet brush, I'm using the flat side of it all along the outside. You can also use a tissue after you do that, so you can dry it.
Yes, I can't post a photo on here.
See how that went away? Remember, well, you can rewind it and look. There was a hard edge forming, so now that's gone. I'm going to go over to the other ear. Actually, you know what? Maybe I won't because I got water over to this side, and there's no reason to try to make that have trouble either. Let's move down to the nose. Okay, so I have to move these out of the way a little bit because I'm working on a vertical piece of paper. Okay, look at our nose. What is the base color of our nose? It looks sort of, the lightest color that we see is sort of a pinkish brown. Do you see that? Easily seen, right? It gets darker here, it gets darker here, but it's got a light, that's important part right there, that light part right there, so we want to keep that. The rest of it becomes sort of you can't really describe it, it just looks like dark. We know there's nostrils and things there. So, let's go ahead and do this. We're going to paint it with this pinkish brown color. What color should we use for that? I'm not going to answer it. I'm going to let you guys think for a minute. And I'll tell you what color I want to use. So, I think I'm going to mix a little bit of burnt sienna and cad red medium. Because the burnt sienna will make it's got that orange in it. And then the cad red has the reddish in it, but they both kind of have a little bit of orange in them. Let's see what we think about my color I picked. Look at that. Looks pretty close, don't you think? Whoops, here. Hold up that nose. It's not showing very well on there. Let me get closer. Okay, I think that's a very good color. So let's put that as our base color, finding the light up here because the light's reflecting there and here. We want to keep those there. So here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and paint wet into dry. That's our base color. We're going to be covering a lot of that. There's the white. So again, that was burnt sienna and cad red medium. Now when we do it this way, wet into dry, we have more control, but it dries faster and it leaves those hard edges. So the bigger the space you do this with, the more risk you have. So finding that white area there, I'm going to go past it where the black is. I can wait on that. I don't want to get these edges to be hard, up, especially up here by the top part of the nose. The outside of the nose is fine because it can be mixed in. Let's just go right over the top. But the important part is to leave a white-ish area here for that highlight. And we'll come back and get that. Painting around the whites, wherever they may be, or the lights. Okay, so I'm going to take some moisture out of my brush, and I think I'm just going to kind of go like this. Kind of use the side of the brush and scratch it around. There's some more light up there. It kind of has pink in between, though. It's not just one solid bit of white. Burnt sienna has a granulating effect to it, which is kind of cool. So see, I'm going right up into the lighter part of the nose where it gets, see how it continues on right in here? So I'm going to get water on my brush now and come down to this on the edges so we can soften it. Start outside of it and come down into it, so we lose the edge. Okay, that looks good. Her little pink nose, huh? Before we stop for the day, I want to go back into my other eye so we don't have eyes that look crazy. This is just, what I've tried to do is, it looks like it's going to backwash a little bit because this is too wet. So I could go like this and pull it back. So right now, I'm going to tell you, don't mess with it. Just let it run. Let it do its thing. If you did what I did and we got too much water up there, just let it run back. It'll be fine because this has a lot of texture in it. Like I'll show you right now, if I try to fix it, it just makes it further and further mess. Watch, I'll just keep doing it for you. Oh, look, now I want to fix that. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, I made it worse. Look, you see what's happening? Now it's not smooth anymore. It doesn't matter here. And that's why I wanted to show you. Look at what it's done. See, so now the more you try to fix it, the worse it gets. And now you might be going, oh shoot, maybe I need to use a Kleenex. And now look. So it's completely a mess, right? But we're gonna make this dark so I could show you that. So if something like that happens, just leave it alone, wait for it to dry, and then go in and try to fix it. So that'll be what mine looks like for now. We'll fix it later. But that's a lesson for you guys. Leave it alone. You can't keep trying to fix it when it's starting to dry. It makes things worse. But you can usually fix pretty much anything later. Okay, so let's go back to this eye, burnt sienna. Okay, you know what? I'll do this, that carbazole violet. I think I have the same. I'll do that with you. And the eyes will be different colors, but it's going to be fine. I'll just show you. So we'll get that super dark violet and burnt sienna. Any dark, thick color will look black on your painting. You guys hear the dog snoring? Not Tom this time. Okay, so taking the moisture out of the brush, because I still have quite a bit in it. I've used burnt sienna and the carbazole violet. I think that's how you say it. So finding my shapes. It looks like it's darker across the top half. I see some lights coming into here. Let's see what we get. Oops, I think I took too much out. So that's one of the reasons I don't really talk too much about the paints that you use. As long as you have a red, yellow, and blue. I mean, obviously more paints is fun. You want to have, some paints to work with. But the red, yellow, and blue are the most important ones. Sorry, I know I don't have to have my painting or my photograph here because you have your own. So I'm leaving around the edge. So this one you can see is a lot brighter than that one with the violet in there. But if you used both, it would be fine. I'll have to adjust mine. We can't have them that far off. Well, we could, it just depends. But in this case, no. Because I'm painting this for a friend. This dog passed away. It's always sad to paint a dog that passed away, but I did that with my dog the whole time I'm painting it. That's the dog Gus. The whole time I'm painting it, I was in tears. So I'm leaving my white. It's not this big of a white dot, but I left it to make sure that I wouldn't forget. And this side here is a lot smaller. So, look how pretty that brown is though. So if I come over here now with it, they'll look more alike. That's a pretty color, huh? That brown. Probably not as much purple in it. So I'll come right over the top of this one. It's probably a good idea, Lynn. It looks more brown anyway. Way closer to a lab's color of eye. Keeping my whites, just going around it. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll go right over the top of where I left that golden color shining through on this area here, so that they become so I don't want it that light. I just don't want it to be completely black like it's in the photograph. So I'm going to go ahead and wet my brush, or take out some of the moisture, and I'll go right over the top of this so that it's lighter, but not that light. I still have that same mixture in there. Now it's starting to look more like an eye with a little bit of depth in there. This part here is important to keep so that it looks rounded. So try not to lose that. And it appears to me that we need to make this part darker. So I'll go back into the Burnt Sienna Ultramarine Blue, the first one that I did for the outside of the eye. Get a little bit of moisture off. And I think I need to come across here for a little bit darker. Yours may not need that. But it's super dark right inside here. Do you see how super dark that is? So we want to find that again. Somehow it went away. And every time you do one thing to your painting, it often makes you need to do something else because it changes it. The value in one area will change the value next to it in another. A little bit darker there, I think. Coming over here again. All right, looking good. Okay, so if you check that out, you can see how it's going to come. So it's still going to look like a super dark eye. Do you see how dark that eye is? But to me, it has more life in it, and that's what I wanted. I wanted it to have a little more life because I know that her eyes probably aren't entirely black. And if they are, I can always get to the black. But once I put black on to start, it's done. It's a done deal. It doesn't change that. You can't bring it back. So probably I could put a little bit of the blackest black that I have on my brush right now, kind of right here in the middle, because that's where the pupil would be. And I'll probably need to fix that one too a little more. So it's 12:01, but we can stay going for a couple more minutes, I think.
I need one more joke.
Tom needs one more joke. I've got that black in my brush, the black. So I think I'll come over here and drop some in and keep some of those obviously the lights that are there, that are already on there. Let's see if we can get the eyes to be about the same. So this line here is a gray line. We can kind of come in there and gray it up. Burnt Sienna, Ultramarine Blue. Again, just thick paint for the most part. And with your darks. It looks like it comes around more here. It touches out on the outside lash, and then it opens up again right here. Do you see that? It touches here and then opens up. It's just really, really looking at your photograph and trying to find those changes. That'll make it look realistic. It's still wet enough that I can play with it and put more color in there. Whoops, don't forget to keep those whites that we found, that we've waited, or that we've been so careful to keep. Don't lose them now. So we can see it looking like, doesn't she look like she's looking at us? And that's why I always start with the eyes. It's like I want to get those eyes right, as close as I can to where I feel satisfied with them. And then I can go on. And then I can just relax and go, the rest of it's going to look like a dog. Okay, so right here, this is way too white. We can all see that's way too white here, and it's way too white here. But remember, we fix that later. I could probably touch this right now so that it'll come down a little bit to be a little bit grayer. And over here too. I can probably do that over here too. So I think what I'll use, because this dog is a golden color, I'm going to go into some of my, the first color that we had, burnt sienna and Indian yellow, which is just really warm. And I'll just come around right in here, because that's the same color that's up there. And I'll just try to mix that in a little bit. And I think that looks good. It looks like she's got some pretty eyes now. This one has the more golden in it than this one. But that will be fine, I think. I think that'll be fine. So again, that golden color I think I'll put above this eye because it's too white right there. Looks like this is too white also. All right, you guys, 12:04 seems like a quick class. That's because I've been pushing you guys hard on the other eyes. So we're going to go ahead and call it a day right now. Quit this particular project for now. Leave it where it is. I won't work any further on it. And then we'll come back and work more on the nose. And then we'll talk about how to make this part recede. Obviously, this part is... This is the focal, this is our focal point. This whole area here is our focal point. Down here are just the supporting cast of characters, so you can, so to speak. But to make this look further away, usually you want to put it in cooler colors. So we'll make those be even, maybe for sure in the blue zone. We'll try to keep this up here more in the warm, because warm comes forward, cool goes back. You can think of that like in landscapes and mountains and things like that. So anyway, I think she's looking great. I really like her so far. Just using a tissue to dry that out a little bit. I think she's going to be super cute. So you guys, that's your class for the day. It sure seems fast, but I can't keep you forever. Anyway, so ready to sing you guys your song, your goodbye song. See right here, this looks a little too straight for me. I'm going to try to smooth or pull those out a little bit. Here, I'll do that. There's always one more thing I seem to do with you guys.
Next thing you know, it's 12:30.
Then next thing you know, it's 12:30. So I have my scrubby brush. I just want to see if I can pull those out. Soften that edge a little bit. Probably going to add more black on that anyway. Okay, doesn't she look pitiful? Look at her. Anyway, I love her so far. I hope we can keep her going. All right, you guys. Twinkle, twinkle, you're a star. Keep your brush near, not far. Splash your paint, you're doing great. Enjoy your puppy, do not wait. Twinkle, twinkle, you're a star.
You're a star.
Here, come hug me again. He just came and gave me a hug.
She's a star.
Anyway, keep your brush near, not far, you guys. Hugs to everybody. Thank you, Tom, for hugging me. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday at 11 o'clock. Okay? Bye.
Bye.